Marc Berman is our good friend who writes for the New York Post, longtime New York Knicks beat writer, and he joins us here on Big Board Sports. Mark, Roger Weiland, good morning.
Hey, Roger, how are you?
I'm good, Mark. How was the All-Star Game experience?
Yeah, well, it's a little crazy in New Orleans still here. It's the first weekend of Mardi Gras parades, and, it wasn't supposed to be in New Orleans. It was supposed to be in Charlotte, and they moved it over the controversial law. And so a lot of fans had trouble getting to the game because of the parade blocking off streets. But, yeah, it was pretty crowded, but it was a great night for the city, a city that is, this is a football town. And, last night Davis scores 52, and then finds out he'll be paired with DeMarcus Cousins in the front court. The game itself, though, was as bad as it's ever been in terms of the players not trying on defense.
Boy, I couldn't agree more, and I do watch the NBA All-Star Game, not willingly, but I throw my eyeballs on it, and I just thought last night, this is the worst I've ever seen. Literally, guys standing around, Mark, just not even trying at all to guard anybody.
Yeah, and it finally became a topic after the game. Kyrie Irving brought it up and said, going forward, we need to get this game to be more competitive. In the past, maybe not last year, but 3, 4, 5 years ago, they were still trying. You made a slight attempt, not 100%, but this literally they were just allowing the offensive players to do any trick play they wanted and just watch them. And I don't find that entertaining. A dunk contest is entertaining because it's there are rules and the dunks are tremendous. And, yeah, there were some pretty crazy alley-oops off the backboard and everything, but to do that once or twice in a game is fun, but to do it every time down court, it was really poor. And I thought Steve Kerr had a great point after the game to motivate the players. Have charities involved with the winning team gets a certain amount of money, and the players get to donate their share to the charity of their choice.
Time with Marc Berman, New York Post. We told you about the blockbuster trade that went down late last night. Now we turn our attentions to Carmelo Anthony. What are your thoughts with Melo right now? Where do we stand just a few days before the trading deadline?
Yeah, I was speaking to a couple of people over the weekend who have talked to the Knicks. It's a big long shot that any deal gets done. The $28 million salary that Carmelo carries with the trade is problematic. It's such a complicated deal where you'd have to take so much money back. And, you need 3 teams, maybe 4 teams. And the Knicks would do it to clear cap space and to get a draft pick and to get a young player. But if you can't accomplish those goals, what's the point? And, they don't want to take on, for instance, in the Clippers deal, the Jamal Crawford long-term deal, they need someone else to take that contract. The Knicks don't want it. He's 36 years old. They're trying to get younger. They're trying to create cap space. There's only a few teams they think that Carmelo would accept, and I think they would rather wait for the summer and get more flexibility when teams are under the salary cap, and they could trade. It just makes everything more flexible. However, I think they may trade Brandon Jennings to try to maybe get a draft pick or a younger player. He's an expiring contract. Kyle, they have a lot of surplus at center. They're definitely trying to make a move to get a little younger or maybe get a draft pick.
Mark, a part of the narrative that has surrounded Carmelo Anthony in the last 5 years or so is that he's winning an NBA championship isn't his number one priority. Does his maybe stubbornness is the wrong word, but his unwillingness to get moved out of New York when there's in the foreseeable future not going to be competing for a championship, does that validate some of those thoughts about Carmelo Anthony that winning a championship, that's just not, he doesn't wake up starving for that.
Yeah, I don't, that's really fair. I look at it more that he's very loyal to New York. He came here in 2011, and, I know George Karl wrote in his book that he wanted New York to help his brand, but no, I really think he does want to win, and I think he doesn't want to yet give up on the New York situation. Obviously, his wife loves it here. I mean, there's a lot of people in this world who don't want to move, and where, there might be a little better job, in St. Louis, but they'd rather live in New York. But I think, to get traded at the deadline is a tough thing to do. Also, in the middle of the season, it's disjointed. You're going away from your family. I think in the summer he'll open up. If the Knicks continue to fall away, I think he's going to open up his mind a little more and definitely look at other places than, say, Los Angeles.
What do you think of this Knicks team after the break here? Will we see any better for the rest of this season in terms of wins and losses and performance, Mark, and better defense and better everything out of this team?
They really have to get off to a very good start, and it's too bad they have Cleveland right off the bat on Thursday, because because they go on a 3-game losing streak out of the break. Mathematically, it's just so pitifully over that, the team is going to lose motivation. This was a club that was so happy to have the All-Star break. They were coming out of that locker room in Oklahoma on Wednesday. Literally, Derrick Rose, as he's leaving the locker room, had his 2 arms up in the air in triumph. He just had to get away. There was so much turmoil. They started to show signs of progress on defense. I think that they've changed a little bit of their scheme in the pick and roll. I think Hornacek has really been on them defensively. I think they're going to play better defensively. And I think they're a decent offensive club, but I'll tell you, their system, and Porzingis talked about it over the weekend, they go from the triangle to the standard offense to wanting to be a fast break team. It's a lot of, Porzingis says, if you don't play the triangle enough, no one really gets it down pat. So it's tough to just do a little of it. And then now it's a mixed bag here, and I think the players were confused. So I think that's an issue. But there's a lot of talent on this roster, and if they stay healthy, I think they could stay in the race. I mean, all Knicks fans want, well, some Knicks fans just want a lottery pick, but other Knicks fans just want them on April 1st to be, in a playoff race.
And you still think that is, if they don't get mathematically eliminated early on here to start a basketball play with Cleveland coming up, you think they could still do that?
No, I've seen so much losing across the last 15 years that if, you asked me on March 15th of the Knicks in the playoff race, I'd probably have to say no. But there still is some progress that was made defensively that I saw, that I'm not ruling it out. But I think if you're a betting man, I'd say that there's not going to be a April 1st big game at Madison Square Garden.
Marc Berman, New York Post, New York Knicks beat writer. Thanks for a few minutes here on Big Board Sports in Albany. Mark, we'll be back in touch.
All right. Thanks a lot, Roger. Take care.